Hey everyone, welcome back. In the last video we got the hull all stitched together, and now we're going to get started on the deck. So let's pull out these pieces and start putting them together. Of course, the first step is to glue all the joints, and so that's what I'm working on right here. Get them all put together like puzzles, and then I will use some thickened crazy glue to spot weld them together, and then we'll get them lined with fiberglass and epoxied. Doing about one spot every inch is sufficient. It's important to make sure these things are really pressed together firm and flat when doing this. And the accelerator spray is, I'd say, essential because you don't want to sit there and just hold it for a while. After it's crazy glued, I then flip it over and back it with some painter's tape. This way the epoxy won't just run through the seam. It's important that it soaks in and gets really down in between the panels, though. You want to have that epoxy really soaked in. And then for a little added reinforcement, I'm going to also line these joints with some thin strips of fiberglass. It may not be necessary, but it certainly doesn't hurt. And I'm just going to line this seam with thin epoxy. There's no thickening agent in here. That way I can really work it in and get it down into the joint. And then I'll do a little bit more epoxy on top of the glass just to get it all wetted out. And then I'll leave that to set overnight and come back and remove the tape. A little bit of run out doesn't really matter. We'll get this sanded nice and smooth. Sometimes that tape doesn't want to release, but again, a little bit of sandpaper will take care of that. The first step in stitching together the deck is to assemble the cockpit recess section, so that's what I'm going to do now. I have every intention of using my mountain bike again. The problem is I keep building boats and I just don't have any time. Assembling this recess section is the same as what we've just done. Everything gets tacked together with the crazy glue, and it'll come back and get epoxied later. The recess panel is a bit of a do it by feel kind of a thing. You just sort of bend it yourself and give it about an inch of recess. That's really what it's designed for. You know, plus or minus a little bit is fine. So I'll use both the crazy glue and the stitches to hold it in place, and you can see me pressing it against a board there to get the recess. I could probably figure out a better jig so I could add the crazy glue to the underside instead of on top of it. And after that's done, we'll lay it out and get started stitching together the entire deck. I would say one of the most important things to remember when doing this step is that you don't want to over tighten anything in any one area, and you want to kind of jump around forward and back and side to side. Jump around forward and back and side to side, adding the stitches so that you're not overdoing it in any one area. This way you can make sure everything is going to be lined up correctly while it's still loose, and then once you're satisfied with the shape, then you can add more stitches and start tightening it down. It's always dangerous to overcommit in this stage. I like to get both the hull and the deck stitched together completely and then put them together to make sure everything lines up nicely and is straight before adding any glue to the actual seams between the panels. You can see those stitches are all pre-bent into the shape of staples. That really speeds up the process. It's always good to have a drill handy. You might plug up a few holes or something. And sometimes you'll add extra holes, particularly around the cockpit recess area. to, you know, give it a little more connection. But we just keep on stitching, and now it's getting tightened up everywhere, so I'm adding more, and I'll have the entire thing stitched together and tightened down nice and firm after I'm satisfied with the shape. And I think by now I pretty much am. I mentioned in the last video, I think from now on I'm going to start using outer forms. That'll just help it to keep its shape early on, and you know, it just doesn't leave any room for errors. So that'll be the way to go from now on. But here you go, we're done stitching together the deck. No glue on it yet, but we get to put it together here and get the first look at the boat as it's going to exist. And I'm pretty happy with that. So that there is what we have to look forward to. We're going to build this 14-footer. And if I can say so myself, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and there's lots more to come. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe and all that stuff you do, whatever. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Later.